I still can't believe I'm the girl who blew up her entire life over a stupid crush. That's not who I am, or at least, that's not who I thought I was. I'm Natalie, 32, and 1 year ago, I had everything. The husband, the house, the job, the whole deal. Now I'm sitting in a crappy one-bedroom apartment scrolling through dating apps and wondering how I managed to lose it all so spectacularly. Everyone thinks there must be more to the story. An abusive relationship, irreconcilable differences, something that would justify throwing away a 5-year marriage. But the embarrassing truth is, I gambled everything on a fantasy that existed only in my head. Let me start from the beginning. Jerry and I had been married for 5 years, together for 7. He wasn't perfect, nobody is, but he was good. The kind of guy who remembered to change the air filters and always put gas in my car when it was getting low. He'd bring me coffee in bed on Sundays and leave little notes in my lunch bag with inside jokes only we understood. We had our routines: movie nights on Fridays, brunch with friends on weekends, and vacations to places we'd save up for all year. It wasn't just comfortable, I was genuinely happy. We talked about having kids in a year or two, had started looking at houses in better school districts. Our life together wasn't particularly glamorous, but it was solid and real. Then Devin walked into our office, and everything changed. It was a Tuesday morning staff meeting, nothing special about the day otherwise. When our eyes met during his introduction, I felt this little electric jolt that I hadn't experienced in years. He was tall, with intense blue eyes and the kind of confidence that seemed to fill the room. His sleeves were rolled up just enough to show a hint of forearm, and when he smiled, he had this tiny dimple on just one side. Jerry is cute in a familiar, boy-next-door way, but Devin looked like he stepped out of an advertisement. I remember fixing my hair as we all introduced ourselves, suddenly conscious of how I looked in a way I hadn't been in a long time. I told myself it was just a harmless attraction. People get crushes all the time, even married people. It didn't have to mean anything. Except, I kept finding reasons to be around him. I volunteered for his training, fixed my makeup before meetings, and wore my good outfits to work. Soon we were texting about work, then TV shows, then personal things. Nothing inappropriate, exactly, just friendly. But I'd catch myself checking my phone constantly when Jerry and I were together. "It's work," I'd say when Jerry raised an eyebrow. He'd nod, but I could tell he wasn't buying it. I started staying late at the office when Devin was staying late too. We'd order takeout and work side by side, talking about everything and nothing. I was looking forward to those evenings more than going home. That should have been my first warning sign, but I ignored it. I wasn't doing anything wrong. We weren't kissing or sleeping together. But emotionally, I was already having an affair. I started getting annoyed with Jerry for the smallest things. Things that never bothered me before suddenly became major irritations. When he'd ask about my day, I'd give short answers, saving all my good stories for Devin. I was building a wall between us, brick by brick. About 3 months after Devin started, Jerry planned a surprise weekend getaway for our anniversary. A year earlier, I would have been thrilled. But all I could think about was missing 2 days of potential Devin time. I went through the motions that weekend, but my mind was elsewhere, checking my phone constantly. When we got back, I threw myself even more into spending time with Devin. We started having lunch together almost every day. I'd tell Jerry I was busy with projects when he called during lunch. It wasn't technically a lie, but it wasn't the truth either. It all came to a head at our company's quarterly celebration. We were at this trendy rooftop bar downtown with string lights and overpriced cocktails, everyone a few drinks in and feeling loose. The sun was setting over the city, and everything had this golden glow that made the moment feel dreamlike and consequence-free. I'd worn my best dress, the black one Jerry always said made me look like a movie star. But I wasn't wearing it for Jerry. During a conversation about relationships, Lisa from accounting turned to me and asked, "Would you ever leave your husband?" The responsible part of my brain screamed to deflect the question, to laugh it off, to say something about how lucky I was to have Jerry. Instead, with Devin sitting right there, I looked directly at him, held his gaze a second too long, and said, "If I had to choose between my husband and someone at work, work would definitely win." I even raised my glass slightly, like I was making a toast to my own destruction. Everyone laughed like it was a joke, but I wasn't joking. And I didn't know that Caitlin from HR was recording our conversation for her Instagram stories. I didn't know that video would end up circulating through the entire company, and I definitely didn't know it would eventually find its way to Jerry. By Monday morning, the video had spread through our office like wildfire. People were giving me knowing looks, but I didn't think anything of it until Rachel, my work friend, pulled me aside. "Natalie, everyone's talking about what you said at the party," she whispered, showing me the clip. There I was, looking right at Devin, basically announcing I'd choose him over my husband. My stomach dropped, but then I did what I do best, I laughed it off. "Oh my gosh, I was so tipsy." "I was totally joking," I told her, even though we both knew I wasn't. When Devin approached me later, looking uncomfortable, I played it cool. "Everyone's being so dramatic about a silly joke," I said, rolling my eyes. He seemed relieved, which just encouraged me more. After that, our friendship intensified. We started going for coffee before work, taking walks during lunch breaks, and texting late into the night. I'd wait until Jerry fell asleep, then respond to Devin's messages, my face lit by the blue glow of my phone. It was exhilarating, like being a teenager again with a forbidden crush. I started inventing reasons to touch him. Straightening his tie, brushing lint off his shoulder, letting our hands graze when passing documents. When he started reciprocating, a hand on my shoulder, sitting close enough that our knees touched, I took it as confirmation he felt the same way. Meanwhile, my relationship with Jerry was disintegrating. I became hypercritical of everything he did. These minor annoyances became reasons why Devin was clearly the better option. I was creating this perfect version of Devin in my head while finding fault with every aspect of Jerry. My closest friend, Amber, confronted me about my behavior when she noticed me checking my phone constantly during lunch. "What's going on with you?" she asked. "Is everything okay with you and Jerry?" When I gave her a vague answer, she didn't let it go. "Is there someone else?" I denied it, of course, but she didn't believe me. I got defensive and accused her of not supporting me. "You're supposed to be my friend," I said. "If I'm unhappy in my marriage, shouldn't you want me to find happiness?" She looked at me like she didn't even recognize me. "Not like this," she said quietly. We didn't speak for weeks after that. The lying became second nature. I told Jerry I had to work late when I was really having dinner with Devin. I said I was meeting girlfriends when I was actually meeting him for drinks. Each lie made the next one easier, and I started to believe my own excuses. As the video confession circulated more widely, Devin started acting different. He'd pull away when I'd touch his arm or find excuses to cut our lunch dates short. When I suggested we work late together one evening, he mentioned having plans with friends. This wasn't how my fantasy was supposed to play out. Meanwhile, whispers reached management. My supervisor called me into her office. "Natalie, I'm hearing concerning things about your professional boundaries," she said carefully. My face burned as she continued. "We need to make sure all workplace relationships remain appropriate." The warning was clear. My workplace crush was becoming a professional liability. Things came to a head when Amber showed up at my office as unannounced. "Jerry is going to see this video," she warned. "If you don't tell him what's going on, someone else will." I insisted there was nothing to tell. "Devin and I are just friends." Amber gave me a look of pure disbelief. "You need to end whatever this is before you lose everything." I lost it then, accusing her of being jealous and not understanding. I told her to leave and not contact me again. Another bridge burned in service of my delusion. That night, I crossed a physical line with Devin for the first time. We were the last two in the office, and I held his hand a second too long after a high five. Instead of pulling away, I stepped closer. For a brief moment, I thought he was going to kiss me. Instead, he gently extracted his hand from mine. "Natalie, you're amazing," he said carefully, "but you're married, and I respect that boundary." I felt like I'd been slapped, all these months of what I thought were mutual feelings, and he was pulling the "you're married" card? I mumbled something about it being complicated with Jerry, but Devin just shook his head. "I think we should keep things professional," he said. That rejection should have been my wake-up call. Instead, I saw it as a challenge. If Devin was hesitant because I was married, then maybe I needed to show him I was serious about leaving Jerry. I started looking up divorce attorneys online, not because I truly wanted to end my marriage, but because I wanted to prove to Devin I was available. The universe decided I'd had enough chances. I got home late one evening, later than usual because I'd been sulking at a coffee shop after Devin's rejection. The house had this strange stillness when I walked in. All the lights on, but no sound of the TV or music that usually greeted me. I found Jerry sitting at our kitchen table, still in his work clothes, even though it was after 9 p.m. His face was pale, almost gray, and his phone was placed deliberately in front of him like evidence at a trial. "I need you to watch something," he said, his voice eerily calm in a way that immediately made my stomach drop. His hands were perfectly steady as he turned the phone around to face me. But I could see the small muscle in his jaw twitching, the tell he had when he was deeply upset but trying to hold it together. There it was. The video of me declaring I'd choose my coworker over my husband, my face flushed with alcohol and excitement, my eyes fixed on Devin like he was the only person in the room. "Someone sent this to me anonymously," Jerry said. "Is it Devin? The one you'd choose over me?" I could have begged forgiveness. Instead, I got defensive. "It was just a stupid joke. Everyone was drinking," I said. "And anyway, how did you get this? Are you spying on me now?" Jerry just stared at me in disbelief. "That's what you're concerned about? Who sent the video? Not the fact that you publicly humiliated me and our marriage?" The fight escalated from there. Jerry pressed for the truth. How long had this been going on? Was I sleeping with Devin? Did I want a divorce? With each question, I got more defensive. "I need you to choose," he finally said. "Either you commit to our marriage, completely, which means cutting off whatever this is with him, or you leave. I won't be your backup plan." Put on the spot, I felt trapped. I wasn't ready to let go of my fantasy with Devin, but losing Jerry was suddenly terrifying. "I can't just decide right now," I protested. "What's not fair is me finding out from a stranger that my wife would choose someone else over me," Jerry said, his voice rising. "What's not fair is you checking out of our marriage while I've been trying to figure out what I did wrong." I grabbed my keys and left, slamming the door behind me. In my delusional state, I drove straight to Devin's apartment. It was nearly 11 p.m. when I knocked on his door. Mascara streaked down my face from crying. When Devin opened the door, he looked shocked to see me standing in his hallway. He was wearing sweatpants and an old college t-shirt, his hair slightly damp like he'd just showered. Nothing like the polished version of himself I saw at work. For a split second, I saw confusion, then recognition, then something that looked uncomfortably like dread flicker across his face. "Natalie, what are you doing here?" He didn't open the door wider or invite me in, just stood in the doorway with one hand still on the knob. "Jerry found out," I blurted, my voice cracking slightly. "About the video, about my feelings for you. Everything's falling apart." My mascara was probably smeared all down my face from crying in the car, and I could hear the desperation in my own voice. In my head, this moment had played out so differently. He'd be overwhelmed by my gesture, realize I was serious about him, finally admit his own feelings. I stepped toward him, expecting comfort, maybe even for him to pull me into his arms like in the movies. Instead, he stepped back, maintaining the distance between us, as if I was contagious. "I'm sorry about your marriage," he said carefully, "but I don't think you should be here." I couldn't believe what I was hearing, but I thought, we have this connection. Devin sighed. "Natalie, I've enjoyed working with you, but I never intended for it to be anything more than friendship. I would never get involved with a married woman. But I might not be married much longer," I said desperately, hearing how pathetic it sounded. Devin's expression shifted to one of pity. "I think you're projecting feelings onto our friendship that aren't really there. I never meant to give you the impression that I wanted anything beyond professional colleagues." I left his apartment in a daze. I'd jeopardized my marriage for someone who didn't even want me. I checked into a hotel that night, unable to face going home to Jerry and unwilling to accept Devin's rejection. The next few days were a blur. At work, Devin requested to be moved to a different project. Everyone knew why. 3 weeks after Jerry found the video, I was called into my supervisor's office again. Given the circumstances, we think it might be best for all parties if we part ways, she said. They gave me a modest severance package and asked me to clean out my desk that day. When I finally returned home to collect some belongings, I discovered Jerry had consulted a divorce attorney. Instead of accepting responsibility, I blamed him for giving up on our marriage so easily. Jerry calmly pointed out my months of emotional desertion and my public statement valuing a coworker above our marriage. "I still love you," I whispered, tears streaming down my face. Jerry looked at me for a long moment. "I still love you too," he said finally. "But I don't trust you anymore, and I don't know if I ever will again." 1 year later, I'm still dealing with the consequences of my actions, though I don't always admit that's what they are. Consequences, not just bad luck. Jerry and I divorced quickly. He was generous in the settlement. More than fair, really, given what I'd done. I had to sell our house because I couldn't afford the mortgage alone. And watching strangers walk through our home, commenting on the kitchen we'd remodeled together and the backyard where we'd planned to put a swing set someday, felt like another layer of punishment. After 2 months of unemployment, I eventually found a similar position at a smaller company across town. The pay is worse, the commute is longer. My office is a windowless box instead of the corner space I had before. But at least no one there knows my history. I've crafted a sanitized version of my past, recently divorced, looking for a fresh start. My new coworkers are nice enough, but I'm careful to keep everything strictly professional. No lunches, no happy hours, no personal texts. Once burned, twice cautious. Amber eventually responded to my apology with a brief text. "I forgive you, but I think we need space." We've had coffee twice since then, but our conversations are stilted, full of careful small talk and conspicuous avoidance of certain topics. During our last meeting, she accidentally mentioned Jerry, then looked like she wanted to take it back. When I told her it was okay to talk about him, she hesitated before telling me he's dating someone new, a kindergarten teacher he met through his brother. "She's wonderful, Nat. They're really happy," she said, with a gentleness that somehow made it worse. I nodded and said I was glad, which wasn't entirely a lie. Jerry deserves wonderful. He always did. Dating again has been a mixed experience. I've gone on a handful of first dates, but I find myself comparing everyone to either Jerry or the idealized version of Devin I created in my head. A few guys have asked why my marriage ended, and I've given vague answers about growing apart. The truth, that I torpedoed my marriage for a fantasy, is too humiliating to admit. I've tried to convince myself that I'm better off alone. I'm focusing on myself, I tell people when they ask if I'm seeing anyone. The truth is, I'm terrified of making the same mistake again. Of chasing something shiny and new at the expense of something real and valuable. I'm also terrified of being alone forever. Of never finding someone who will love me the way Jerry did. The worst part is seeing happy couples. Yesterday, I was at my favorite coffee shop. A new place I found after the divorce since our old regular spot has too many memories. When a couple walked in, they were mid-30s, like Jerry and me, with that easy comfort that comes from truly knowing each other. Nothing dramatic or passionate, just the quiet synchronization of two people who've built a life together. She ordered for both of them without having to ask what he wanted. He automatically reached for napkins when she forgot them. And as they waited for their order, he absently rubbed his thumb over the woman's hand, not even conscious he was doing it. Such a small gesture of casual intimacy, but it made my chest physically hurt. Jerry used to do that exact same thing, that absent-minded thumb stroke that said, "I'm here, we're connected," without words. I had to look away before they noticed me staring, this strange woman with tears in her eyes over strangers holding hands. For a brief moment, I allowed myself to feel the full weight of what I'd lost. Not just Jerry or my job or my friends, but my self-respect. I had been so convinced that I deserved more, that I was settling by being with Jerry, that I couldn't see the value of what we had until it was gone. If I'm honest, really brutally honest, I still don't fully accept that this was all my fault. There's a part of me that wants to blame Jerry for getting too comfortable and not keeping the spark alive. Or Devin for being friendly if he wasn't interested, or Amber for interfering instead of supporting me. Even now, on my loneliest nights, I catch myself thinking, If only they had understood what I was going through. If only Jerry had fought harder for our marriage. If only Devin had been clearer about his boundaries. But in my more lucid moments, usually after my first cup of coffee but before the day's stress hits, I know the truth. It's simpler and harder to accept. I had something good, something real and solid and true, and I threw it away for a fantasy. I got bored with happiness and mistook excitement for fulfillment. I said I'd choose my coworker over my husband if I had to, and now I have neither. Both doors closed, both men gone from my life, and the only person who made that choice was me. Not Jerry, who loved me faithfully until I gave him reason not to. Not Devin, who was just being friendly to a new colleague. Not Amber, who tried to save me from myself. Just me, Natalie, 32, sitting alone in a one-bedroom apartment, scrolling through dating apps and wondering if anyone will ever look at me again the way Jerry used to, like I was enough, exactly as I was.